Alright, so one wisdom from the Rebbe for today. So when it comes to learning Chassidus, there are generally two claims which people have why it is that they shouldn't be learning Chassidus. Number one is that all the previous generations survived without it, and suddenly these people show up and say, you suddenly need Chassidus. Why should we start learning Chassidus? Everyone was fine before it, why should we start now? And number two, seemingly the whole point of everything is to add. We want to add in goodness, add in other things. So what's the idea of Chassidus, which is here to cause bittul, to cause the person should be less about himself, should be not as into himself? Seemingly it's very negative. So the answer to this idea is that we find there's a sickness which is coming in the world these days, which is sickness is not that there's something which is bad, but rather there's extra growth in the body. There's something extra that is going on. Not that there's a missing limb or anything missing, but there's something which is coming to the world, into a person, which is not a good thing. And therefore, obviously, the cure to it is that we have to remove that thing which is not good. And the way we deal with that is you have to go through different ways of curing a person in order to remove that badness from within him. And also, a person is never going to claim that, oh, the previous people that I know or the previous generations didn't use this cure. Why should I start using this cure? Obviously, if you have the sickness, the fact that the previous generations didn't have the sickness, they didn't need to use a cure. But if you today are sick, God forbid, you have to use this cure as well to get rid of it. And the same is true about the learning of Chassidus. That at the time before, when the world was light, they didn't need to have these cures, and they didn't have to remove anything from the world because everything was fine. But these days, the world is getting darker and darker. And as the time gets darker and darker, we also need to start increasing in light even more. We have to remove the issues. So since there's more yeshus and more feeling of oneself these days, therefore we have to have chassidus in order to remove that. And so too, no one's going to say that just because the previous generations, just like someone else who's not sick, didn't cure themselves, we don't need to cure ourselves. Because if today you're sick, today you need to be cured. And therefore everyone has to learn chassidus today, and everyone has to add in chassidus today. And the reason why these extra sicknesses are around today is in order to see the parallel in Ruchnius, that we need to continuously add in light to be able to bring about the final revelation of Mashiach, may it be right now. L'chaim, l'chaim.